Hey guys, I have Chris Vanderstock here. Is that how I say your name?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect, mate. Chris and I, we've known each other for a few years now. We've been to the EV shows together. Chris has a lot of experience in the EV industry. He has a YouTube channel, which I will put his channel in the description. Make sure you subscribe to Chris. And you don't do a lot of videos, but the ones you do are really good.
Thank you.
So people should, there's no reason you should subscribe to him because it's not a huge time commitment and you do really good quality stuff.
Thank you.
Not to mention, you have a lot of respect in the Australian community and you should worldwide for what you did. Do you want to tell everyone about yourself to, my audience and tell them what you did? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And some people, Americans, you won't know what happened, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Sam. I run a YouTube channel called Electric Chris, and on that I cover from an Aussie perspective technologies like electric vehicles and more. And essentially I've been doing that as a good serious side hobby since 2018. And these days I tend to just do electric car reviews, it seems. Still do tech, but not so much because week in, week out, I just seem to be in another electric vehicle. So that's great. Yeah. Very privileged and grateful for the opportunity. Yeah. And when I got involved in that sort of genre, I was encouraged by the guys of Zach and Jesse from Now You Know. And I thought in Australia at that time, no one was doing that. So I tried it on. It wasn't a good fit for me, but I got interested. And I learned all about how much damage internal combustion engines do. Diesel. There's a reason DIE is in the actual name of it, right? and I myself, we went electric in 2020, and we've got now 2 electric cars. And I just felt that as a father of 4 kids, and I've got 4 kids, yeah.
How old are they?
Yeah, they're 10 through 21.
Wow, you got a 21-year-old?
I do.
I didn't know that old, man.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. And to me, it was kind of like, why is government not doing more to encourage people into electric vehicles? Because it can truly decarbonise our world. And even if we do fill up our cars with from coal electricity sources, it's still better for us than compared to what petroleum does. And we burn it and it comes out as particulate matter, does damage to your heart, your lung, your brains, you name it. Yeah. And our Victorian government, they put forward in 2021 some new legislation that would actually tax all electric vehicle owners for every kilometre they drove.
So the first electric car tax in the world?
Yep, the first one in the world.
Yeah.
And this was seen as obviously a massive disincentive and grossly unfair because no other drivers on the road have to pay this tax. Yeah. And we eventually ended up in the High Court of Australia, which I'll talk about in a second, but it made every single road in Australia a toll road. Every kilometre you drove was a charge. Yeah. And people who also had a plug-in hybrid vehicle, they were doubly charged because they also pay for petrol. And on petrol you got taxes, of course. Plus also they had to pay this tax.
Plus it's a pain in the ass because you've got to write it down in the logbook as
well,
right?
Exactly, yeah. So you had to do a declaration, and let's say you're out of country when that declaration was due, you'll be penalised 37 kilometres a day.
And they fine people,
yeah, they did. Yeah, they deregistered cars. Hundreds of people lost their car registration because they didn't actually do the declaration. Because you had to do a photograph of your odometer. And sure, if you've got a Tesla, you can do a screenshot, but other people have got a physical odometer. So you can't do that. Yeah. And there was a lot wrong with this legislation, but me, in the position that we're in, I was like, this is the wrong thing we're doing in 2021. So some very clever lawyers, they got together, and myself and Kath, who you also know from the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, they said, well, we can't argue the merits of good health and good environment. Well, they could, but they said this is realistically an excise because every kilometre you drive is a new charge, right? An additional charge, a burden. And that type of tax in Australia sits with the federal government, not with the Victorian government. And so they argued successfully in the High Court of Australia that this is actually unconstitutional. And it got passed, and last year, around October 14, the High Court handed down its judgment saying that yes, Victoria cannot tax motorists.
So to summarise that, you and Kath took on the Australian or the Victorian government in the High Court. What an enormous risk. You must have balls of steel. That is so ballsy. Because you've got to remember that at that time, our Premier of our government, because I was living in Victoria at that time. He's called Dictator Dan. He's not the kind of person that you take on someone like that and they want to take you down, really. Yeah. But you took them on and you won.
Yeah, no, so it was a brilliant outcome, and I was very surprised that a few months later, that the Victorian government announced that we were getting refunds for the charges we already paid. So we paid 2 years worth, and that's great. It's so amazing that motorists actually got that money back, because we didn't ask for refunds to be issued. We actually felt that from that day forward in time, that's the new precedent in Australia, in Australian law. So from that moment, they couldn't charge. But the Victorian government actually did the right thing, and they said, no, we'll refund you the monies you have paid. So great outcome for many Australians, because what this law meant was that other states and territories, they also could do the same type of charge. And so New South Wales, Queensland and WA and South Australia, they all had legislation ready to go doing the same sort of thing. And so it had ramifications not just for Victorian motorists, but also other motorists in other parts of Australia. And realistically, people from other parts of the world would look into our case, because it actually was something that government could do in America. And this is a good test of law that, well, you've got to make sure you get the law right. And it was poorly put together, quickly put together. It was very burdensome on owners. It was a disincentive. Let's have that conversation. And I'm grateful that it actually got down.
I'm still scratching my head. Like, how did two people take on the government and win? It's insane. But anyway, we're at the Sydney EV show here right now, and we've just been here looking around the show, been on stage talking to people. You're talking to a lot of people, and there's a lot of stuff changing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of Chinese cars out here, EVs out here.
Yes.
People think that massive things are changing, and they clearly are. Yeah. But we've got a few new models here. Is there any particular cars here that kind of stood out to you that we could mention to people that you think are worth talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really excited by the X-Pen, the G6. Yep. That's a great looking car, excellent price. 800 volt architecture, so super fast rapid charging. Very good. Vehicle to load, ticks the boxes for me. Yep. Also, what else? The Deepal brand. They've got some good looking electric vehicles with a true frunk. Yeah. That excites me. I've got a Model Y, and I love the frunk for takeaway food.
It's a true frunk. It's a bit of a small frunk, but it's better than no frunk.
Right.
People who bought the BYD 803, do you remember they were all advertising you could get this aftermarket frunk to stick in the front of it?
Still is a thing.
Yeah,
still is a thing, right?
Why didn't they offer it with the car?
I have no clue. Yeah. No clue. So and
so that's two. We've got the Deepal and the Xpeng. Anything else?
And I guess the Zeekr, they've got a great looking range there, really good looking cars. And there's a hero car out there, absolutely mean, mad, red velvet lined interior. It's a ridiculous car. I'm looking forward to jumping in it. Plus, not really well represented here today is actually the Roadster by MG.
Yeah. We haven't talked about that. Maybe it's a bit. It's just over 100,000. That's Australian dollars to you guys, Europeans and Americans. So that's the MG Cyberster electric. What do they call it in America?
I think it's a Cyberster, isn't it?
No, when you have we call it convertible. They call it a rag top or a soft top. Yeah. So that would be about $70,000 for that convertible, which is actually a dual motor, I think, isn't it? Dual motor.
It's ridiculous.
It's actually pretty good.
Second flat.
Fast.
Yeah, fast.
So the Zeekr, the car you're talking about, was the Zeekr 001 FR.
Yes.
And that's like the car that's their version of the Tesla Model S Plaid, family car. It's got a big boot.
It's insane.
And I mentioned to people out there, I said, guys, you see that car there? That's actually faster than any Ferrari, any Lamborghini, or any Porsche, 0 to 100, faster than any of them on a track. And I'm talking like real. You can repeat that time. Yeah. And it's also got massive carbon ceramic brakes on it.
Didn't notice that.
I drove it in China. It's quite scary.
Wow.
It's 1,265 horsepower. But honestly, my stomach I felt like I was going to throw up. It was so fast.
Yeah. That number's scary to listen to.
You've got a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
And when you initially bought that, what did you think of that in terms of pace?
Look, it's the slowest Tesla they make. It's a standard range, exactly. Yeah, so it's like
it's still fast for a base model car.
It's got that get up and go. It's got 200 something kilowatts of power, 400 something newton meters of torque. So it does feel good compared to most Australian petrol diesel cars. Yeah. And most people who jump into it, they're like, wow. Yeah. And it's like, this is nothing. I'm fortunate to try a lot of other electric vehicles out there. Yeah. And the OG Tesla Model 3, the 2019, made in California one, that was a lot of fun. That was only 5 seconds.
True.
I say only 5 seconds. That's a good time. And,
What car would you get if you were going to get any
I
car?
love this question. Because we're actually thinking of selling our cars right now and, changing it out.
Yeah.
So honest to goodness, the Hyundai Onic 5 is my favorite car.
Yeah, it's a good looking car, isn't it?
It's a good looking car,
Yeah.
great feature set, plenty of space and comfort. The internal, what they call it, the ICCC or something like that, they've got an internal issue now with the kind of alternator between the DC battery to the low voltage 12-volt battery, and it's making that battery go flat. So
and it's not a lithium at 12 volt, is it?
I don't believe so, no. But owners are changing it out to that, but they're still, because the car is not stealing power from the DC to donate to the low voltage, the batteries are lasting 2 years.
I did a video about that actually.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing that Hyundai needs to come to the party here and fix this.
They do,
Yeah. But it's still...
So
it's my
Tesla had that
favourite.
problem really, and they replaced, they put in lithium batteries instead to try and move away from lead acid batteries, which are, to be honest, rubbish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, changing a 12-volt battery is so easy. Seriously, do it yourself. You don't need to pay anybody.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that that's a really nice car. In California, I saw a lot of Hyundai Onic 5s.
Yeah.
I'm saying Hyundai because you guys say that in the United States. We call it Hyundai.
Yeah.
There's Hyundai, I think, is in Korea.
Yep.
So we both get it wrong, America and Australia.
There you go.
Maybe the Europeans get it right. Europeans, do you get it right? I don't know. So why that car? Why is that the one you want?
Yeah, it's, I think, a combination of performance. It's got a lot of good get up and go, especially compared to my car especially. Excellent feature set. So it's got the rear privacy glass along with the built-in blind as well.
Yeah.
It's got a nickel magnesium cobalt battery, so it's fast to go up.
So an NMC battery?
Yeah, NMC.
Yep.
And 800-volt architecture, so very, very fast charging.
Yep.
Vehicle to load, both internally and externally, so if you want to do a bit of glamping.
What's the vehicle to load speed?
I think it's 3.2 kilowatts, so it's pretty decent. So you can run. I've camped in it. I've done videos where I've got a TV running, kettle running, and something else. All 3 things at the same time, and it was fine. Didn't short it.
There's a new version coming now, isn't there?
There is,
And
yes.
It's got a bigger battery and more range, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And a new sort of look, which I'm kind of lamenting, to be honest, because the pixel design, as they call it, and that retro 80s look, I love that.
I like the current model look.
Yeah,
Do you think the new
same.
one looks better or not?
No.
I like the current one. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so be it.
What do you think about Hyundai's hydrogen plans? Because obviously, now you know what I think about hydrogen, but what do you think about them investing in that? Because they have been talking about that. They just said they got a new car, they just released it.
Yeah, I know, and it baffles me no end. It doesn't make sense. Battery tech is already proven. We've got the range. We can do trucks. We can even do trains, for goodness sake. We're doing trams.
What's that truck that's in Australia now?
Which one?
Something Rose.
Don't know.
It's a Chinese semi. It looks exactly like the Tesla semi.
Okay.
And it's getting 600 plus kilometers
Oh, that's
of range.
right. That was done in Melbourne a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And apparently this company, which no one's ever really heard of, has like thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
pre-orders.
it's a rip of the Rivian.
Yeah.
It seriously looks like a Rivian without the price tag.
Yeah,
And yes,
yeah.
no, it was a compelling vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And I think, look, hydrogen might have its place in shipping, long haul, very extreme long haul, but it doesn't make sense. If Tesla can do it with the semi, other trucks are doing Mercedes, you name it. They're all doing trucks now with battery electric. So why is Hyundai even doing this? It's not needed. There's no market. You can't fuel them anywhere. Expensive to fuel. Nothing makes sense.
Every time someone talks about hydrogen cars, I just can't help imagining a bomb, because now that we know that in the Ukraine-Russia war they used the Toyota Mirai as a bomb.
Serious?
Yeah, they were driving them into the Russians and then getting them to explode.
Unbelievable.
So when you say for long-haul shipping, I agree it would be good for long-haul shipping.
Yeah.
But I just keep thinking in my head, I imagine that thing catching fire and imagine what the explosion would be.
Yeah.
But honestly, that may or may not happen. I don't care. But I agree with you. Why are they bothering when they know, they must know how good battery technology is, and also the fact that we're right on that precipice of having these new 400 watt hour per kilogram energy density batteries.
And more.
And more.
Yeah, solid state battery, 800. You're going to have that 1,000 kilometre battery in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. We've got the ferry coming to Melbourne that's going to do the Melbourne-Geelong route. So we've got a ferry coming to Melbourne doing the Geelong to Melbourne route, and that's a massive catamaran-style vehicle, carries 200-300 vehicles at a time, and it's battery pure battery, no hydrogen need
yeah,
apply. Plenty of other places, Sydney ferries are replacing now with battery. They're proven. And so, yeah, hydrogen, I think, has zero space, really.
So if you look at, say, Cadel, biggest battery company in the world,
Yeah.
the condensed battery, which they say they're going to put in EVs, it exists now, 400 watt hours per kilogram. It's not even solid state, right? So it's a real battery here now.
Yeah.
It's in the aircraft. And they're saying they'll go in EVs. But my point is to say the BYD Blade battery's energy density is 150 watt hours per kilogram.
All right.
Meaning, going from 150 to 400, the BYD Seal, if it had the same size battery, it would get well over 1,000 kilometres of range.
Yeah, yeah.
We're actually really close to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think will be the range of cars on average? In say 2030,
Exactly.
2030.
2030.
Yeah.
Look, can I just say, sadly, it will be 1,000 kilometres. And I think that's just because many people overestimate.
You're saying we don't need it?
We don't need it.
Yeah.
We don't need it. But people do think they need it. And in Australia, it's actually pretty much, for most, quicker and cheaper to fly. Why would you want to spend 8 hours on a road doing human freeway? It's the most boring drive in the world. People do it, don't get me wrong, but there's a very small minority. And the what if I want to do that trip, it's like, honest to goodness, if your car could do 400 or 500 kilometres, you need not. And so I'd rather see appropriate resourcing of cars where the battery is actually the right size for that owner. And we don't need to have these 1,000 kilometre batteries, but there is a market out there that does, but just not most people.
It'll just be available, though. I guess that's the awesome thing, isn't it? That we'll have that choice.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
And you'll be able to tow caravans, and you guys
Good point.
in America, you guys have those things that are just like a bus, but they're a caravan, and they'll be working. So that'll be an option for people.
Definitely needed.
Mate, I would love to talk. Let's do this again. I've got to get up on stage.
That's all right.
And I know people are actually already out there. But let's do this again. It was really good to see you at the show.
Thanks, Sam.
Mate, I think what you're doing is really important. What you've done has been
Thank you.
changed the course of Australian motoring history, which is actually sounds hyperbolic, but it's not at all. It's true. So well done, mate.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Sam.
Thanks for your time.
All right, cheers. All right, thanks, Sam.
All right, man.
Bye.